Hello, my name is Miss Jones, and I am an elementary school teacher that teaches math. And welcome to my channel, Miss Math Jones. Today, we're going to be working on our third grade Eureka Module 5, Lesson 11 homework. Let's get started. The objective for our homework is to compare unit fractions by reasoning about their size using fraction strips. So we're going to be comparing unit fractions, seeing which one is bigger or smaller, by looking at their size using fraction strips. Let's take a look at number 1. Number 1 says each fraction strip is 1 whole. All the fraction strips are equal in length. Color one fractional unit in each strip. So all we're doing here is coloring one unit to represent the unit fractions. So let's go ahead and start coloring them in. So for 1/2, we're going to color in 1/2. Just color it in. Now you can also label your unit fractions as well, just so that you can get extra practice in labeling unit fractions. So we've colored in 1/2. Now let's color in 1/3. First, like I said, you can go ahead and label your unit fractions. So write 1/3 in each part. After you write 1/3 in each part, go ahead and shade in 1/3. Now let's move on to 1/5. You're going to write the unit fraction 1/5 in each part. So go ahead and write 1/5 in each part. And after you write 1/5 in each part, you're going to shade in the unit fraction 1/5. You're going to do the same thing for 1/4. I want you to write the unit fraction 1/4 in each part. Write the unit fraction 1/4 in each part. After you write the unit fraction 1/4 in each part, go ahead and shade in 1/4. And finally, we have ninths. Go ahead and write the unit fraction 1/9 in each part. You have 9 parts, so you should be writing 1/9 9 times. Write the unit fraction 1/9 in each part. After you write the unit fraction 1/9 in each part, just like I've done, go ahead and shade in 1/9. Now, if you need to pause your video to make sure that your homework looks like my screen, go ahead and do so now. Let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 says, circle less than or greater than, whisper the complete sentence. So, A says 1/2 is less than or greater than 1/3. So if you take a look down here at the bottom of your screen, right, I'm going to show you pictures of the comparison so that can help you decide whether or not you should be circling less than or greater than, okay? So let's do the comparison for A. 1/2 is less than or greater than 1/3. So look at it. Is 1/2 bigger than 1/3? It is, right? So that means that 1/2 is greater than 1/3. So you're circling greater than right there. Now let's take a look at B. B says 1/9 is less than or greater than 1/2. So again, let's take a look at the bottom of your screen right here. And let's compare 1/9 to 1/2. Now, which one is bigger? Is 1/2 bigger than 1/9? Yeah, it is. So that means that 1/9 is less than 1/2. So make sure you circle less than for letter B. Okay, let's move on to C. We're comparing 1/4 to 1/2. Is 1/2 less than 1/4 or is it greater than 1/4? So again, let's take a look at the bottom of your screen right here by this red arrow. And we're comparing 1/4 to 1/2. So is 1/4 less than 1/2 or is it greater than 1/2? Well, if you said less than, you're absolutely correct because 1/4 is smaller than 1/2. So 1/4 is less than 1/2. Now let's look at D. D says 1/4 is less than 1/9 or 1/4 is greater than 1/9. So again, let's take a look at the bottom of your screen. We're comparing 1/4 to 1/9. Is 1/4 bigger than 1/9? Is that piece bigger than 1/9 or is it smaller? That's right, it's bigger. So that means that 1/4 is greater than 1/9. Good. Let's move on to E. We're comparing 1/5 and 1/3. Is 1/5 less than 1/3 or greater than 1/3? Is 1/5 less than 1/3 or greater than 1/3? So, yet again, let's take a look at the bottom of our screen. We're comparing 1/5 and 1/3. Well, look at those pieces. Is 1/5 smaller than 1/3 or bigger than 1/3? You're right, it's smaller. So that means that 1/5 is less than 1/3. Now let's take a look at F. In letter F, we're comparing 1/5 and 1/4. So is 1/5 less than 1/4 or is it greater than 1/4? Let's take a look at the bottom of our screen again. And here we're comparing 1/4 and 1/5. Now take a look, and you have to look really close. Is 1/5 smaller than 1/4 or is it bigger? Look at it. If you said it's smaller, you're right. So that means that 1/5 is less than 1/4. Let's move on to G. We're comparing 1/2 to 1/5. 1/2 to 1/5. All right, well, take a look at the bottom of your screen. Let's put that model down there. Is 1/2 bigger than 1/5? Is that piece bigger? Yeah, it is, right? So that means that 1/2 is greater than 1/5. That 1/2 piece is bigger than that 1/5 piece. 1/2 is a larger fraction than 1/5. Now, letter H might seem a little tricky, right? Because you have 6/5 and 3/3. So let's go ahead and put that model down there for sure. All right. Now here we have a model of 6/5 and we have 3/3. Now notice 1/3 is shaded, but they said 3/3. So that's the whole thing. So we're comparing 3/3 to 6/5. So that's basically one whole compared to one whole and a fifth. So which one is longer? Which one's bigger? If you said 6/5, you're absolutely correct. 6/5 is greater than 3/3. Now, at this point, you might want to pause your video to check your work to make sure that your homework is correct and it looks like my screen. Number 3 says, after his football game, Malik drinks 1/2 liter of water and 1/3 liter of juice. Did Malik drink more water or juice? Draw and estimate to partition. Explain your answer. So let's go ahead and draw, and I'm going to put it on my screen, but I want you to go ahead and draw a model with 1/2 shaded and 1/3 shaded. So your top model is going to have 1/2 shaded and your bottom model is going to have 1/3 shaded. Try your best to make them about the same length, okay? Now the question asks, did Malik drink more water or juice? So let's look at 1/2 and 1/3, right? Which unit fraction is bigger? Which one is larger? Is 1/2 larger or is 1/3 larger? Now, if you said 1/2 was larger, then you're absolutely correct. So after you draw this model on your paper, then your explanation should look like this. It should say 1/2 is more than 1/3 because halves are larger than thirds. 1/2 is more than 1/3 because halves are larger than thirds. And you may want to go ahead and pause your video so that you can make sure that you have your models drawn and you have your explanation written. Okay, let's look at number 4. Number 4 says use greater than, less than, or equal to compare. All right, so letter A is comparing 1/4 to 1/8. Is 1/4 greater than, less than, or equal to 1/8? Well, let's put a model here. All right, so on the top I have a 1/4 and on the bottom I have an 1/8. Which one has a larger unit fraction? Is the 1/4 unit larger or is the 1/8 unit larger? That's right. The 1/4 unit is larger. So that means that 1/4 is greater than 1/8. And you're going to write a greater than symbol that looks like that in that little circle. Now let's move on to letter B. Letter B says 1/7 is greater than, less than, or equal to 1/5. Well, let's put a model up just so that you can take a look at it. So here I have a model of sevenths and a model of fifths. Now, sevenths and fifths are pretty close in size, but look at it. Which one's larger? Look really close. You see how that fifth line is just beyond that seventh line, right? So that means that 1/7 is actually smaller than 1/5. So 1/7 is less than 1/5. And again, remember the rule. In a unit fraction, if the denominator or the bottom number is really big, then that means that the pieces are really small. Think about it like a pizza. If you have to cut a pizza into 7 pieces and cut the same pizza into 5 pieces, the pizza that has the 7 pieces, those slices are going to be a lot smaller than the pizza that has the slices that are cut as far as just 5 of them. All right, now let's go ahead and look at C. 1/8 is greater than, less than, or equal to 1/8. Well, that's an easy one. It's the same. 1/8 is equal to 1/8. And let's look at D. D says 1/12 is greater than, less than, or equal to 1/10. Now remember, the larger the denominator or bottom number, the smaller the piece. The smaller the denominator, the bigger the piece, right? So let's look at a model of twelfths and a model of tenths. Well, as you can see, those tenths are a little larger than those twelfths. So that means that 1/12 is less than 1/10. Now, our next comparison is 1/15 and 1/13. Is 1/15 greater than, less than, or equal to 1/13? Let's look at those models. Oh, wait, We don't need to look at a model because the larger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. So 15 is bigger than 13, which means since that 15 is a larger number, those pieces are going to be way smaller than those 13th pieces. So that means that 1/15 is less than 1/13. In letter F, we're comparing 3/3 and 1/2. So we have 3/3 and 1/2. Is 3/3 greater than, less than, or equal to 1/2? Well, if you said equal to, you are absolutely correct. Now, you may want to pause your video to make sure that your comparisons are written in your circles correctly. All right, now for number 5, it says to write a word problem about comparing fractions for your friends to solve. Be sure to show the solution so that your friends can check their work. Now, this is a word problem that you create, okay? So it does not have to look like the one I'm going to show you. You can make it similar if you want, okay? But you're supposed to create your own word problem comparing fractions. So this is the one that I made up. Miss Jones gave a math homework that was 10 pages long. Brandon Bellanini completed 10 out of 10 pages, or 10/10 pages. Carter Barnetta Lilly completed 7 out of 10 pages, or 7/10 pages. Who completed the greater amount of pages? So I'm going to draw a fraction strip to show Brandon's completed homework. This is 10/10. Brandon completed all of this. Now I'm going to create a fraction strip for Carter's homework. Now notice, I made Carter's fraction strip the same length as Brandon's, but I circled the 7/10 so that you can see that Brandon completed 10/10 and Carter completed 7/10. Now, that's my model for my word problem. Who completed the greater amount of pages? Well, Brandon, because 10/10 is greater than 7/10. So, Brandon completed a greater amount of pages. Again, this was just what I created. Your word problem can look completely different from mine. Now, if you need to pause the video so that you can compare my word problem to your word problem, go ahead and do so now. Congratulations, you have completed lesson 11 homework. Give yourself a pat on the back. As always, I hope this video has helped you to complete your homework. I hope you have a great day or evening whenever you're watching this video, and I will definitely see you next time. Bye.